Battery 30%. Connected to Bill's iPhone.
Hey, William, are you live?
Yeah, you're live. I don't know how many people are listening,
I
but you're
don't care.
live.
Listen. I don't care if it's one person. All right, everyone. I just want to let you know it's Saturday, 10 o'clock. I've been up since 6, and I just want to let you know that Donald Trump came out yesterday, telling you exactly what I've been saying. They're not sellers of the stock. They would sell it north of 50 of the short squeeze trigger. I told you that. I told you I had a friend that met with Trump, and he knows all about us. I told you that maybe a month ago. He knows all about us, and I told you that. These people are fighting, and they will eliminate naked short selling. You now have Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Patrick Byrne, Devin Nunes, all on our side, and the political clout that we're going to have in, 38 trading days. It's all on our side. The scumbags like Jeff Easton and all these small scumbags are going to get roasted. Guys like Citadel are going to get slapped on the hand. They're going to have to shut down their plans and whatever they're doing, and this way they don't go to jail. And it's just coming. It's coming fast. I spoke to a shareholder this morning down in Baltimore. He came and met me for breakfast, and I basically told him, it's your time. Find the stock that you want to get involved with. The game is over. The game is going to end, and the game, 38 days, they're going to eliminate day one. One gentleman wrote on Twitter to me, it's going to take a long time. Donald Trump said day one, he's firing Gensler. Day one. The fraud has been going on for 36 years. It will end. These guys are playing with fire. They can't get out. There's going to be billions and billions lost on the short side. All right, they've been trying to destroy DJT. Donald Trump stepped in and ran to 21. They pushed it back down. People, the green light has been given. He's going to abuse these people. All right, and he's not just going to abuse them in DJT. It's going to abuse them in all different stocks. Find whatever stock you want to invest in. William, I did say on your call to buy the cheap calls in DJT. I said it many times. You don't have to buy those cheap calls we talked about, all doubled and tripled on the run to 21, from 17 to 21, the 22s, the 23s, the 24s. They all exploded. You could have sold half and have half for free. This stock is going to be a trading stock. You can buy the dips, sell the rips. All right. This is what the game is over. That's what I see. You make your own decisions on it. I'm just telling you that Donald Trump is putting in writing that he's going after the SEC, FINRA. He's telling you. All right. These guys, they've had enough of the manipulation. Donald Trump owns what? 30 million shares of stock. You don't think he wants to sell it at $50 or $500 and get GameStop money? I've been saying it every day. Devin Nunes says they're going after and they're going to punish the naked short sellers. These are their words. I'm just telling you what the feeling is that I see, and I know for 24 years of doing this. Patrick Byrne, go listen to his video again. I listened to it again. All he wants to do is enforce stock settlement. Stock settlement clears up the whole mess. All the fraudulent activity on Wall Street leads from stock settlement. There's so many loopholes from stock loan. They're stealing that way. These day trading firms that are selling stocks using the loophole, the market maker exemption. We all know what it is. It's going to be stopped and shut down. It's Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Go figure out what you want to invest in. Find the best way to get into whatever you want to do. You know the stocks that I'm following, Williams follows. There's other stocks out here, whether it's Kodak. I don't believe in GameStop anymore. I don't believe in AMC. But again, DJT, there's other names out here. Wolf, there's other names. Go find whatever one you want to pick. Do your research on it. Find the best stock for you. Look for stocks that show you proof. Get data. See what the CEOs are doing, whether they're offering stock and doing things like that. All right, be careful of the stocks that are going to do reverses, things like that. A lot of CEOs have already been raped, and your investment is basically in jeopardy already. So find something that you believe in. Your chance to change your life is in front of you. We got 38 days to go. The shit's going to hit the fan. Donald Trump just put it up himself. It's right there. You can read it yourself. It's on Twitter. He wants to know what's going on here now. I told you he knows about it. He's going to expose these guys, and he's going to shut them down. All right? I just want to make sure that one gentleman wrote to me that on Twitter that it's going to take time. And my lesson to him was, on day one, he's firing Gary Gensler. All right? That's day one of the election, November 5th. All right? So you know when shit's going to hit the fan. Number two, a lesson on Wall Street. William, you know it probably better than anyone. You want to be in before the shit hits the fan. You don't want to jump in when the shit hits the fan. You want to find things that are going sideways, give you the least amount of risk, and get in before. We talked about DJT the other day, how they're still shitting on it. It was down to $16. We've always said you got to buy it when they don't want it. Well, turned around and went from 16 to 21. In hours, it went up like that much. So you got to buy them before. That's when you make the most money. You could have bought it, sold half, traded it, bought to take the profit by cheap calls. There's many ways. I know some people paid higher. Some people just initiated their position, but that's the game. The trend is your friend. They're going up, these stocks. The shorts are trapped. If you were short the stock, William, you would want to do everything in your power to make it look ugly. They want people to bail. These guys are buyers. They're not sellers anymore. You can see it. Just look at finger motion. The volume is non-existent right now. All you see is manipulation trades, 200, 300, these type of trades all day long. All they're trying to do is to stop the momentum. Yesterday, near the close, the stock started to pop up, and someone threw 14,500 to sell. I think it was a 213 or 214. They just tried to stop the upside, then they try to close it and mark it down lower. They don't want a positive mark in the stock. I think it closed at 210.5. The last day it closed at 211. Notice it's a half a cent below the last closing price. These are tricks that they use to get in your head, to make believe that the stock is a negative. Just go find it in any name you like. You have free inside information. Never before will the SEC give you free inside information. And you say, what are you talking about? The SEC's listening. Gary Gensler's getting fired. He's been covering for the naked shorts for years now. Go look at the MMTLP hearing, where he made believe he didn't even know what was going on. A blue sheet, looking up, he's going to get back. Not a word, not a peep. So he's been covering for them. Donald Trump knows it. Everyone knows he's bad. They're throwing him out. Pat Burns coming in. In his own voice, he tells you he's going to fix stock settlement. And now you got Donald Trump. November 5th, the election happens. The game changes. Our people are taking control. The shorts are losing control. All right? The people that they had in here running interference for them are going to be gone. I mean, that's all I wanted to tell you. Again, you figure out where you want to go, what you want to invest in. All right? Find what's the least amount of risk that you can tolerate. All right? But the opportunity is here that if you believe that there's naked shorts and fraudulent activity, which I've been proving since 1988. I showed you the cover of Forbes from 1988, that this has been going on. This crime has to stop. All these big shots that you see on TV, they've all been naked short sellers. That's how they all made their money. You can't be right every day of your life investing. These guys have always shown that they're making billions of dollars. Where did they come from making billions of dollars? They've been right for that long? It's insane. Jeff Easton and the Kramers and, the other one, Yorkville, all these thugs. What was that guy? What was the name? Ameristat? William, what was the name I gave you yesterday? I forgot the name of that. Armistead. They're the new thieves in town. They made $30 million on that short squeeze yesterday in that TNON. All right, that's what my friend heard. TNON. They did the secondary. The company did a reverse. The next day did a secondary. They squeezed some other short seller. One guy did it, Armistead. They squeezed the short. They killed each other. and they made $30 million in one day. One day on a short squeeze, $30 million. All right, so find your opportunity. I woke William up today. I wanted to speak. I have a wedding and things to do. I'm going to visit a hospital now. I'm going to visit a very special person in an ICU unit that's been someone that I know for a long time, and we always stop to go see her. She's an angel on earth, but I got a busy day, and I wanted people to understand it's Saturday. Do your homework. This is the stuff that's going to change your life. I know it's beautiful out here on the East Coast. I know you got things to do. You want to watch football. You want to do whatever. But do your homework. Your opportunity is 38 days away. I believe the shit's going to hit the fan between now and then. All right? People always said to me, do you think Donald Trump is going to do something before the election? I said he has to. Otherwise, the Democrats are going to blame him for only, trying to make money. He has to do it while he's not the commander in chief. So it has to happen before. And there you go. There was the first volley right across. You've seen it yourself. It's in writing. All right. Do your homework. Pay attention. Your opportunity to change your life is right in front of you. Don't be stupid. If you have questions, ask. Again, I can't tell you what stocks to buy. You do your own thing. I told you where we are. We've been documenting the fraud for a long time now. William, does anybody who's here have any questions?
Giannis is asking you, and maybe you need to read it out. I tried to put it up. I'm unable to do it. I can read it out. Trump put out a tweet that says he's going to move DJT maybe from NASDAQ to New York Stock Exchange. Giannis wants to know if he moves it from NASDAQ to NYSE, will that cause a squeeze?
I'm not sure about that. The New York Stock Exchange, I was looking for the story about United Airlines from 2001. It was on the New York Stock Exchange. They just killed Lumber Liquidator and naked shorted it down. There's stocks that are on the New York Stock Exchange. I don't believe that is the silver bullet. No.
But so the move.
He's basically telling you, all of us that the SEC has been covering for the crooks. That's what he told me. That's what it looks like it said to me. Yeah. You got to remember, he's not like us. He doesn't understand it. If it was me speaking, I would be sitting there and say, Pat Burns coming in here and he's going to force stock settlement, and this is going to end the security fraud on Wall Street. That's all he had to say.
I couldn't get this. I was trying to post this. I just, technology is a nightmare. But what Trump wrote on tweet is on Truth Social is, why is NASDAQ halting the sale of DJT? What right do they have to do this? This is written by Donald Trump. They have done it twice today. What's going on? Are they taking orders from the SEC, which, for political reasons, delayed us for an inordinate amount of time, therefore hurting the stock very badly? I am going to hold NASDAQ and maybe the SEC liable for what they are doing. If they do it again, we will move the stock to the New York Stock Exchange. It is my intention, this is written by Donald Trump, it is my intention to own this stock for a long period of time. In my opinion, it is the real voice of America, but it is definitely my voice, and it will be for a long time to come. That's what Donald Trump wrote.
So again, what he's telling you is that, hey, the shorts have been knocking the stock down. There were stories on, Reddit, Seeking Alpha, that the insiders were going to dump it, and the shorts were just pushing it down. That's a common thing. I told you about that. Go back to Facebook when it went public. I told you, these guys, when they know the insiders are going to sell, they short it and push it down and just rob the insiders. They do it all the time, and they do it by illegal means, by naked shorting. You saw the short interest jump. When you start seeing short interest jump in borrowed shares, they're running out of juice on the naked shorting side. All right, that's why they don't like people to see what they're doing. And the real short interest shows you that they're being exposed, like it is in Finger and like it is in GDC right now. But the bigger names like a DJT, I don't follow the real short on it. I haven't, so I can't answer for that. But again, when they start showing their hands and their cards, you know they're in trouble because they always like to operate in the dark. Patrick Burns says the cockroaches don't like sunlight or daylight. He was right. That's the quick answer. But again, I just want William.
He hasn't been to the tropics.
I just wanted everyone to understand you need to do your homework on the weekends. Be ready for Monday. Take advantage of the price discrepancies. Take advantage of what you think is going to happen. DJT, I've been yelling about it. I can't stop the slide in the stock. I know people that own it higher. I know people that average down. I know people that bought in fresh last week at $16, $17. Do you think it's going to go? That was the question. I keep saying, yes, they're not going away. They're not sellers. I posted it. They're not sellers. And there it comes out. He tells you they're not sellers. And here it is. All the bad guys on the street are trapped now. And the quick spikes, drops, the stopping of the trade on the upside is for a reason. All right? They want the shorts were killing each other. That's what the panic was, not longs running in to buy the stock. Those are shorts trying to cover. All right? And they stop it because they're trying to give the shorts catch a breath because they keep getting, as it goes up, margin calls trigger. Boom, boom, boom. And that's why they slow it down. Everybody knows the halts are ridiculous. We all know that. All right? So maybe moving to the New York Stock Exchange, maybe they don't have the same requirement on a halt. Maybe that's what he's trying to do. All right, but again, 38 days. I think that's your first shot from Donald Trump about the stock. And I believe there's going to be more. I think Devin Nunes will finish the job, and he will be the one to follow up on it. But you know their voices. Everyone keeps looking for their voices. I told you I was going to do it on with 25 days to go with Patrick Byrne to show everybody what's going on. But I don't really have to do it anymore. Donald Trump is telling you what's going on. They're watching the stock. They know what's going on. Pay attention. Your opportunity to make a lot of money is going to go away fast. Pay attention. This is the greatest opportunity in history. Okay? Inside information people go to jail for. It's inside information is just coming out of the next president's mouth right for you. They're going to attack the SEC on the naked short selling issue. It's right in front of us.
Starting.
This is what's going on. Pay attention. Never before have I seen this information. They're going to force stock settlement. November 5th, Trump wins. Gary Gensler gets the boot. Pat Byrne comes in. Boom, boom, boom. There's your opportunity. I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen on November 5th and November 6th, but anything that's related to this new change coming in, once Trump wins, things will be moving way before then. Hedge funds are not stupid. They get in before the news. I expect to see hedge funds to start buying these names. They like to get in before the news. They look around saying, hey, if this is an issue, I want to be long before it happens. I don't want to be chasing a stock at $20, $30 when it was just 16 or 18, or whether it was 2 and it's 12. Why would I pay up that much? I want to be ahead of the curve. That's what hedge funds like to do. They don't like to get in last. They like to get in first. Pay attention. Do your homework. Speak with your broker. Speak with your financial analyst. Speak with your wife, whoever you have to. Understand what the opportunity is. The dinner bell is ringing. That's what I see. And that's what I wanted to say to everybody, William. I don't want to keep everybody's time. And it's a Saturday, and I told you I have things that I have to do, and I just want to make sure people understand the alarm bells are ringing all over the place. And the next president of the United States just spoke. And I told you, he has to get it done before he's the president, or people will blame him that he's just doing it to raise money for himself. He's doing it before he's the president. And I told you I believe that was going to happen. And there it is.
Jennifer points out that the calls for DJT in November are not cheap. So maybe it goes September, October.
Well, I'm just saying that I always said I like to buy the front month and move towards the back month. I always like to do that. And you got to remember, buying the 20s, then you could sell the 20s, double your money, and buy the 25s. Then you can say, well, we're losing $5 in the stock. The idea is to have more calls cheaper, and if you can get them for free, the better. That's how you do it. So if I buy calls that, let's say I bought the 20s the other day at a dime, they went from 2 cents to dollars. People were telling me it was option expiration. The stock exploded. So, you could buy the 20s, sell them at $1, flip to the 25s. I went from the 20s to the 25s. This stock is going way past 50. So whatever you can buy that's cheap, remember, this is throwaway money. That's how you have to look at it. All right, there's risk in options. If you want to buy the stock, there's less risk. That's the way you have to look at it. But you could get more leverage with an option trade. That's why people go look at the SEC insider trading blog all the time. When they catch people, oh, they bought options, they made $500,000. They bought options. The SEC monitors the options because that's where all the fast money is made. That's where the inside information pops up on option trades. I remember buying a stock, Cummins Engines, CUM, back in the day, from Michael Steinhardt. All right, I bought it 2 days. I bought, I don't know, $1.8 million, I think I bought. 2 days later, it got taken over. It was up $20. No one questioned him. Why? Because his pattern is that he buys stock. 100% they had the inside information on that. Not even a question. But no one ever questioned him. Why? Because his pattern was he buys stocks. He buys stocks, sells stocks. That's what he did. And that's what they do. So they never investigated him for that, but that's how it goes. All right, you understand that? And I've seen it because I did the order, and it was actually, I said, why didn't you fucking tell me? They go, oh, we didn't know. Yeah, sure. Went up $18. So, I mean, these patterns, you're getting an opportunity. The option market is where the SEC looks for insider trading. But the SEC is going to be tossed out the door. And Patrick Byrne, stock settlement. Stock settlement means if you're short, they're going to force you to buy it back. That's the inside information. It's right there. The president's throwing out the head of the SEC. Pat Byrne's coming in to force stock settlement. If you're short illegally, they're buying you in. End the conversation. And Pat Byrne, go watch Deep Capture, the movie. Google it, and you'll understand more about Pat Byrne. He told you the last thing he wants to do on this earth before he goes out, does nothing and watches animals all day, is to force stock settlement, and it's right there. Does everyone understand that?
I don't know, but I guess
everything we've been talking about is right on the nose. This isn't Roaring Kitty. I'm going to draw a cat and a dog and whatever the fuck else he does and make shit up. This is all facts. It's right in front of you. This is 24 years coming to a head. This is the end of the game for me. This is it. And I'm doing everything in my power to get my friends invested in the places they need to be now. Last night was the final straw for me. There's the nail. You just put the final nail in the coffin of the short sellers. He just told you that. That's the next president of the United States. Vote for Trump, we get financial freedom. I don't give a fuck if you're libertarian, Democrat. I don't really give a shit about that. I need financial freedom for me and my family, my kids and my grandkids. I had a friend of mine that's a Democrat. I don't talk to him anymore because I don't want to deal with it. I'm here for financial freedom. I don't give a fuck what these people talk about. Donald Trump is here to give us financial freedom. You don't like it, I don't give a shit. Then you'll be a slave working under those other idiots because you'll never make money in the equity market. That's what this is about. And it's showtime. You're getting the opportunity. All the poor working slobs are getting a chance to turn it around, to pay off your mortgage, buy a new house, buy a new car, travel the world. It's right in front of you. Figure it out. You have to figure it out. But do your homework. That's all I can tell you. We've been preaching and teaching you about security fraud for a long time. This has been going on since February 1988. I know it's going on a little earlier than that, but that's 36 years, the cover of Forbes. Pat Byrne knows all about that. I wrote a story to Pat Byrne. I asked him, hey, Pat, do you ever see this story? 2011, the Economist talking about that the unsettled trades is rattling the regulators. That's from June 2011. He knows about it. Anyway, people, my family's coming. I have to go, and I have to go to the. Well, that's not them. Hold on a second. I still got a few more minutes. I gave up breakfast to go talk with you guys. So my family's eating, and we're going over to the hospital in a little bit. So anyway, just any other questions?
How high could the stock price of GTT squeeze, or how high would it go if the stock stops being shorted?
Was that DJT?
Yeah, DJT.
I think it can go to hundreds of dollars. Again, it's a bigger company. But it has good, it's got great shareholders. People that believe in Donald Trump are the ones that have been buying it. There's people that are buying it are loyal to DJT. He's telling you it's going to be America's voice. So Americans are supporting it. Mom and Pa are buying that stock. He's created diamond hands that people believe in the nation. I think that's a good thing. But that's, I don't know the shareholder base. I know the people in Finger Motion. Finger Motion, the gentleman reported the other day that the company is 84% owned by insiders. I don't know if it's 84, 86%. He put up the data. Do you realize how tightly held this company is? And how many people that are not included in that number are long? I mean, this is going to be a bloodbath. We know everything about it. DJT, I can't tell you I know every gory detail about it. I did get the data. The data was that there was 700 million shares short. All right, that's the data I know. The average price, I know it's come down a lot. It's probably like $47 or $46 is the squeeze trigger. I posted it before, it was 54. Remember, it was breaking out by 54 and they attacked it down again. Remember, 54, that was the crucial spot. It popped above it, then they attacked it down. Same thing happened in Finger Motion. Got the 318. The real short was in trouble. They beat it back down. You could see the numbers where they fight for their lives. You could see it. The numbers are all there. We put the numbers up for a reason. Sometimes they go through the number, stay there for a day or an hour, then they attack it down. But those attacks are going to go away. The naked short selling attacks are going away. Donald Trump, Pat Byrne, you can't sell stock down if you can't deliver it. All you're doing is making a bear trap. If they settle the trades and they bash it down with T+1, let's say you sell 1 million shares of Finger down from 3 down to 2, and the next day you're going to deliver it, they'll be buying back that 1 million shares at 5. They understand they can't keep doing it anymore. Right now they can sell 1 million shares and not deliver it, and that's why it doesn't move. But once it reverses, it's all over with. You can't sell 1 million shares down from 3 to 1, but you pay back at 5. You're losing $3-4 million a pop. They won't be in business more than 2 days doing that. Right now, they could sell it, and they sit here. It's like throwing, putting stones on the witches. Remember, they used to put the boards on the witches and just keep putting the stones piling on until they crush them. That's what it is now. That's going away. All right, I gave you as much as a rant as I can. Do your homework. It's Saturday. It could change your life. The 38 days, do your homework. This isn't Harvard Business School. This is how you educate yourself on the market. Hedge funds work all the time. Legitimate hedge funds work all the time. Try to get the information and try to get in before they come. People were buying GameStop at 3 3/4. I wrote the report on it. When I called them up, people were saying, this company looks like it's going out of business. And I said, once the short squeeze starts, it won't stop. And what happened? It's exactly what happened. People were buying it. I had friends pay 3 3/4 for it. Okay, I told you the highest we sold it was 118. All right, I didn't have every gory detail. I didn't know the shareholder base. In Finger Motion, I know the shareholder base. And the shareholder base is super educated in Finger Motion. I don't know if the DJT shareholder base is super educated. I think maybe 10% of it is, or 15% of it is. The other people, I don't believe, know what's going on. All right? I still don't think the GameStop people understand what's going on. They know there's been a squeeze. That a lot of them paid higher. The company's been selling stock. The game changed in GameStop. People don't understand that. The company's been selling stock. And don't get me wrong, it's got $4.5 billion. It can go build a company, but it's a long-term play. That's the game now. If they want to keep pushing it, good luck. I would tell you, if you wanted to trade GameStop, buy the dip, sell the rip, because the crowd that's there is, really believes that it's going to get squeezed. So take advantage of what they believe. They want to keep pushing it. So obviously got a big audience worldwide. So buy the dip, sell the rips. There you go. You could buy the dip, sell it when it pops up, take the profit, buy some calls, and don't even look at it. You could do it that way if you like. There's many ways. The name of the game is don't stand like a statue. You can buy stock, sell the stock, take the profit, buy calls. That's called moving it around, taking the risk off the table. You always have risk, but you removed your risk. Instead of buying a $20 stock, $18 stock, you bought the stock, you made $3 on it, you sell the stock, you buy the 25 calls with the $3,000 you made. You can use $1,500 to buy the calls, hold on to $1,500 in profit, and you still got a shot on the upside without having to risk your $18,000. That's how you play the stock market. No risk. Reduce your risk. Reduce your risk. Reduce your risk. Reduce your risk and learn. If you can reduce your risk, everybody, and learn how to get bigger by reducing your risk, that's when you really kill them. That's the key. Reduce your risk, meaning buy it, sell it, buy the dip, sell the rip, profit. Whether you buy back in on the dip again, keep lowering that cost. Imagine if you paid $17 for DJT, sold it at $20, you made $3, you bought it back near the close. Now you take the $3 that closed at 18, you bought it back at 18, you take that $3 in profit, you own it at 15. Next time it pops up, you can do the same thing again. Keep lowering your profit. That means you can stay longer. When it pulls back, you can use that profit. You started with 1,000 shares. Maybe after doing it once or twice, you'll get another 400 shares. Now you own 1,400 shares. So you're getting bigger with the same amount of money. All right, William, I'm out of gas. I've been talking 40 minutes nonstop. I've been talking since early this morning. But please, people, do your homework. Ask questions. Find whatever stock it is. I don't care what stock you may find. Maybe you believe that MULN will go. Maybe you believe that Wolf will go. There's Kodak can go. There's hundreds of companies. Maybe it's BB. What's his name? BlackBerry. Is that BlackBerry or what's that? That's a cell phone company. I can't remember the name of it. What's BB? I forget the name of the company. But there's many companies.
Yeah.
What is it called?
I don't know. BBBY? Is that what you're talking about?
Nah, just BB. I forgot the name of the company. I think it's BlackBerry. I'm not even sure. Yeah, BlackBerry. It's $2.48. That was another big shorted stock. BB. I mean, there's 50 names. Go find whatever one that excites you. But I don't have the data on any of those names. I can't. I don't have the time and the energy to do that. All right. I don't want to be like shit all over the place. So I'm going to specialize in what I do. That's all I'm going to do. But please teach your friends. Do what you have to do. All right, everybody. I have to run. My family's coming. Have a great weekend. All right, William. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Call ended.
I guess since you're here, we can have an informal discussion of various things. Oh, BBB. Yeah. I have to caution that, and I was talking with somebody else this morning about it. I have very little doubt that Trump will win the election, but I'm not sure that he's going to be our next president. But anyway, I just caution that it could be wrong. Probably not. It's the same. Talking about it over and over again doesn't change the same fundamental story. The problem is we hear a story, and if it doesn't happen by tomorrow, has the story changed or not changed? And just because something doesn't happen by tomorrow or during this week or next week doesn't mean that the same thing you've already been told by him has changed. But anyway, I didn't have a chance, and I'm not sure. I was trying to think of how I could bring it up. I'm not sure I would have gotten that across to him. He did not bring it up this morning. It's not because somehow... Let me ask you, what would change? Would in a given name, if there's a huge short position, would it suddenly disappear? If in a given story there's an enormous acquisition of the outstanding float such that a small group of people own the entire float, would that change overnight? The story, the underlying story of the stock is irrelevant. This particular stock is a piece of shit company. It's crap. The news is crap. Something about, what was it? I see. I'm not tech. What's the thing? It's not Twitter, but it's what all the kids... TikTok. They opened a TikTok portal. Swell. Great news. Hey, what's the update? Hey, they opened a TikTok. Wow, it's gonna go. That's all crap. Just like Roaring Kitty is nothing. The dynamics of what's going on haven't changed for weeks, months. What's the update? What's the update? What's the update? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Well, when you're 7 years old and your mother tells you that you're driving from Richmond, Virginia to Montpelier, Vermont, and it's going to take 18 hours or 20 hours, you can't comprehend it there at all. So you say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? When it's described to you in any name that a group of wealthy investors and institutional investors have purchased more than the float, more than the outstanding float, and there's 100 million shares short, and they're putting their money into it. They're not like we are. They're not skitterish. They're not, oh my God, what's the update? What's the update? What's the update? Is it going to... No, they must have some sort of strategy. I don't know. But anyway, Ham didn't bring it up, and I apologize. I didn't get it to him. To my knowledge, nothing has changed. It didn't happen in February, didn't happen in March, April, May, June, July, August. So far in September, nothing's happened. Does it mean it's never going to happen? I doubt it, but I think every stock that you guys bring up to me, every stock you bring up to me, it's after it's already run. I guess sometimes you bring me a story that's up and then you expect it to continue to go. And my point is, nobody rings the bell. Nobody knows when they're going to go. And anyone that tells you, oh, it's going to go next week, oh, it's going to go next month, I personally don't think really knows. I don't believe there's a switch that can be turned. My opinion, Eunice and the other gentleman, I don't care if a billionaire came in and said, I'm going to spend $1 billion buying a stock. I don't think that's what's going to make something in a world. Imagine a world. In a world where the other side can just sell endless fiat stock certificates. They can just make them up out of thin air. They can just sell them. They don't have to locate. They don't have to borrow. They don't have to deliver. They don't have to settle. Your brokerage firm doesn't ask for receipt. And Gary Gensler goes in glad hands with Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris because he knows he's going to be the next Treasury Secretary. He doesn't care about his job. He gets paid a lot of money, but he just has to get up there a few times a month and move his hands over here so you look over here, move his hands over here and you look over here, maybe do a little right here. And which cup is the ball under as he does this 3-card Monte, this hide the truth game in front of Congress. He's just a bullshitter, Gary Gensler. He's not too discreet about it. But he's gone a long way by lying about everything. He's backed by Goldman Sachs. He's backed by Hillary Clinton, now by Kamala Harris. And he's not going to do anything. Settlement is not coming to the U.S. markets. There is no requirement that you follow the rules. It's like on a college campus. It doesn't matter anymore. Back when I went to school, if you're smoking pot, you're not going to get arrested. If you're selling cocaine, it's highly unlikely that you're going to get arrested. If you're in a state that doesn't allow premarital sex and you engage in that, you're not going to get arrested. If you cheat, you probably aren't going to get arrested. In the marketplace, if you don't borrow the shares, if you don't locate the shares, if you don't deliver the shares, if you don't request delivery, you're not going to jail under Gary Gensler. It's all okay. Why? Because Goldman Sachs is how he made his fortune. Goldman Sachs's profit, according to the redhead, is their stock loan department. It's Goldman Sachs is a stock loan desk run by Vinny, run by Tony, run by Eddie, with the name of an investment bank on top. And all that they make 85% of their revenue from that. And 80 of that, I think 85% is profit. I forget the exact numbers, but that's the magnitude. And if Goldman Sachs is doing it, Merrill Lynch is imitating, Morgan Stanley is imitating, Fidelity is imitating, Jefferies is imitating. The prime brokerage arm of these brokerage firms is where they make their profit, and the counterfeiting of shares, the lending of shares which do not exist, is how they expand their assets under management, where they can charge fees. It's how they expand their commissions. It's how they expand their interest and their debt. And it's all abracadabra. And Gary Gensler is the linchpin. He is the henchman. He is the godfather. Gary Gensler is there to make sure that Goldman Sachs continues to be able to make outlandish amounts of profit by cheating. That's why Gary Gensler's at the SEC. Anyway, in companies that, like you mentioned, Eunice, and the other gentleman mentioned, there are on Wall Street people. It has nothing to do with ethics, by the way. They just see an opportunity because the prime brokers and the broker dealers who go along with this crime, and it is a crime, they get overextended. Gary Gensler makes sure that everything is in the advantage of these people who break securities laws. So does Adina Friedman. Merrill Lynch comes out with what's called the Merrill Lynch rule, but it's across all brokerage firms. They won't allow clients to buy stocks under $7, under $5, under $10. They won't allow clients to buy stocks under $1 billion in market cap. I don't know the exact number. So these stocks all become sell only at the thundering herd of Merrill Lynch, the bigger Morgan Stanley now, the Dean Whittiers, the Prudential Baches, the Jones. All these brokers don't buy these stocks. They couldn't even tell you about any of them. And then what the brokers do, they gather assets, which is all printed money from the Fed, which is owned by Goldman Sachs. They just print money, and you take that made up out of thin air money, and you put it in an ETF. And the ETF buys fictitious paper shares, which are lent to the ETF by the stock loan department of Goldman Sachs. And then the Goldman Sachs next century AI trust us, we won't go bust fund opportunity 5 raises money, and they supposedly buy these shares. You go in it because your broker says, hey, we want you to go in this new visionary, and look at the glossy brochures, and we're not going to charge you 8% up front. You're going to just have a scaled out. If you get out in the first year, you pay 4%, second year 3%, 2%. So there's no upfront fee, and hey presto, you're in the next new investment miracle of your lifetime. We're just going to hold it for 5 years. Well, what is that Goldman Sachs manufacturing plant of a financial vehicle? And it might not be Goldman Sachs. It's probably more like a Morgan Stanley or a Merrill Lynch thing or a BlackRock thing. A lot of this creation went out of the brokerage firms to the so-called hedge funds, to the Larry Finks and the Blackstones and the Blankenfields and the Griffins. But you put your money in long term. Hey, you own these shares. 10% of your money is in AI, and here's the list of stocks. We own 3% of your money is in Apple, and 2% of your money is in Microsoft. And then in our portfolio, we have all these suppliers, and we also have some banks, and it's all you own all of it. Aren't we geniuses? Look at the brochure. Look at how we match up against our peers. But then when your money's in these funds or these ETFs, and you don't touch it, that's the key. Buy and hold. Let us manage it for you. We're Goldman Sachs. We're Morgan Stanley. We're Merrill Lynch. We're UBS. Let us do it. We're BlackRock. We're Blackstone. We're SAC. Let us manage it long term. And here it says it right in black and white. You own IBM, you own Microsoft, you own Amazon, and why is it these 6 or 7 stocks? Because we all imitate each other. But more than that, these were the stocks backed by the investment banks from soup to nuts. And frankly, in the case of an Amazon or in case of a Facebook, these are all Google. Look it up. These were all backed by the military-industrial complex, by the CIA, by the ones that are surveilling you. So the banksters get you to put your money in these products, and man, don't trust anyone else than our idea. They then destroy the capital creation that Gary Gensler lies about. They destroy the ability of American companies, the American dream, to go to the over-the-counter market and raise money. There isn't. So you go to these criminals like Jeff Easton, who lies and tells the CEO, we'll raise this money for you. Well, you never see who put up the money. It's never listed. It's some face, some front. The Apollo Go to the Moon Fund Trust 2025 LLC. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a front. They put up the money, but it's not real money. What Jeff Easton is doing, because there is no capital formation in the U.S. markets anymore. What Jeff Easton is doing, he's just a shill. He's just a patsy. Jeff Easton is a patsy for the hedge funds behind him, and your own ETFs, and for Mickey Cohen, and for Robert Blankenfield. I don't know the names of all these guys that run all these big financial firms. Black and Diamond. Jeff Easton is just someone there willing to take the risk of lying and breaking the law out there because the guys have said we're going to have lawyers that protect you. Well, they do, as long as everything works. But at some point they'll cast Jeff Easton aside and he'll be the face of the crime, but it's really Blankenfield doing it. I don't know, whoever's behind Goldman Sachs or whoever's behind Anson Funds. The guy, his name is Anson, out of Toronto. They're the ones in the shadows. You don't know their names. But it's your fund sitting there. And I'm not trying, I was triggered by this kind of jerky comment there. He says, I'm just figuring it out. I'm not just figuring this out. But it's because you put your funds and you trust the glossy document and your statement you get from Merrill Lynch or Goldman Sachs. Hey, this is what you own, and I'm very wise, and I'm a participant in the American capitalist system. And look, I've got a broad range. I'm diversified. It's all counterfeit. They lend your shares out, the Goldman, the Vinnies and the Eddies and the Sals, and you lend your shares out to the pranksters and the cheaters out of Toronto, out of Germany, out of Panama that come in and destroy your market caps. Now, they don't do it in those 7 stocks. They don't do it in the bigger name stocks. Why? Because there are institutional buyers who have the research, who have the squawk calls, who talk to investment bankers. They have access to data, and they can bring to bear buying pressure. But in the orphaned area where you're buying stocks now, I'm buying stocks, it's abandoned. And Gary Gensler is a liar. There is no capital formation down there other than Jeff Easton creating a spread from, he starts selling stock, or his clients do. As soon as you pick up the phone, the CEO says, I need $10 million. Jeff Easton calls his 4 go to hedge funds. One of them's probably the Anson Fund Group, and they start shorting the stock and selling the stock, selling the stock, selling the stock. As Jeff Easton's negotiating, big smile, Madison Avenue, the CEO thinks they found nirvana, and then Philip Vallier says, we are terribly pleased to be able to fill in the blank company to finance it now in their exciting moment in their growth history. Well, they take the stock from $2. Maybe they stabilize it at $2. Or maybe they drive it down, which is what usually happens, from $2 down to $1.50, maybe $1.25. And they have the $5 million sitting there at a prime broker, but they can't get access to it. But money's fungible, remember. As soon as that money's sitting there, another player knows the money's there. So another player that's related with the first puts up the 5 or 10 million, which goes to the CEO. But it's got provisos. It's not at $2. And it's not at 150 or 125. It's, we're going to put up this money, but we can convert this convertible note or whatever the structure is over the next 90 days or any time. And they have a 6 month, they're not supposed to trade it. Well, you think they follow that rule? You think they follow that? If there's a 6 month before they can trade it, well, it'll start in 6 months. But they'll say, at any time we can request, the CEO has to put fully tradable shares to the extent he has them or she has them at a transfer agent. And as the Jeff Eastons and the Anson funds and the Blankenfields and your funds start using offshores to sell it down, sell. The formula is, and to the guy, I'll find his name. I've known about this formula crap and I've told the stories. It's been out there for 30 years and I've been aware of it and I've been fighting it and I've been talking to it to the man. So you can think you're so smart and that somehow you're teaching me something, but you're not. You're just here to, I don't know why, to make me look bad or make you look. You're starting to realize it. Realize what? Realize what? Hello? 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 Just butt dial. That's Ham just butt dialing me. So my point, bringing it back to Eunice's question, or to this other gentleman, let me find the other gentleman. Here, this guy, ESK. My point is, this is what we're up against. It's systematized, it's massive, and it happens everywhere. In the over-the-counter markets, in the NASDAQ markets. This is how the big funds make their rates of return. By cheating. And Gary Gensler supports it. So, these stocks that you talk about, there is an opportunity to take the other side of that trade. That's Wall Street. As soon as somebody finds a secret, other people try to figure it out to play the other side. And just because Gary Gensler is corrupt, Adina Friedman is corrupt, Robert Cook is corrupt, your broker-dealers are corrupt, the DTCC is corrupt, the Fed is corrupt, Blankenfield is corrupt, Griffin is corrupt, Stevie Cohen is corrupt, Just and the law firms are corrupt. Aubrey Capital, the other one, Chadron, they're all corrupt. Just because they're all corrupt and they're all in on it together doesn't mean there's not another side of that trade. And there is another side. They have everything under control except the surprise. They have everything under control. And the positions are sitting there. They have risk. And money can be lost. So guys like these who pick a stock or recognize the stock and they say, hey, we own the entire float. There's 100 million shares short. And they've committed capital to owning that float. Do you think they walk away? What's the update they're going to give you? Hey, you know what we're doing? We have a secret strategy, and we're going to call, and we're on Tuesday, October 5th, we are going to, you think they're going to tell you? What's the update you're looking for? What's the update you're looking for? This company you're talking about on August 23rd announced that its subsidiary AI Catalysis Corp announced the launch of SyncWave X, a groundbreaking web-based AI application under its software brand AI Box. SyncWave X is set to revolutionize the way videos are created by automatically syncing lip and facial movements with audio, enabling ultra realistic videos with unmatched ease. Nobody else has thought of this. Not those movie creators at DreamWorks. Nobody has thought of this. The launch of SyncWave X highlights the company's dedication to AI-driven innovation and empowers creation and influence to thrive in the digital realm. Bravo. That's the update. That's the update. There is no other update. So anyway, when you get involved in a stock that you've heard that something's going on and Ham mentions, you're not going to get surety. You're not going to get specifics. You're going to get a whisper from other guys and girls on Wall Street who know something, but they can't tell you. So you're just playing along. You're not going to get an update that means anything. But that doesn't mean there's not another side of the trade to play. And you're not going to get it from Roaring Kitty. You're not going to get it from these guys that come on here and they tell you about a stock that's bouncing from its all-time low after it's been destroyed by Jeff Easton's clients. They're just trying to sucker you in, just like COSM took your money. Just like Roger Rabbit took your money. These guys come in to get you to put money up so then the fronts can come do a deal. The shorts can come do a deal with the CEO. And if you're chasing those, that's what's going on. And they come on here. Hey, get in this. And it worked. It worked with COSM. It stopped the squeeze in GTII, in my opinion. That was happening. And I still have to answer the questions on that. I didn't tell anybody to buy the stock at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I never did. When I talked to my friends, it was 20 cents, 40 cents, 60 cents. I never said anything about after $1. But that's a long time ago. And there was a squeeze going on in GTII until three guys, Gus Fliakos, CEO of GTII, Frank Benedetto, IR for COSM, and Lou Bravo, may his soul rest in peace, came and told you that the CEO of COSM was fighting the shorts. He was going to go on upstream. He was never going to do a deal with the shorts. He was going to squeeze. The name change was going to cause a squeeze. The CUSIP change was going to cause a squeeze. And 2,000% short. And it all was crap. It was all lies. It was to get you to buy the stock. And then Gus Fliakos, who traded offshore, I'm sure, but he did a deal with the shorts. Right into your buying. But what did you sell? And I'm not saying you specifically. You sold GTI, and it stopped the squeeze that was going on in GTII, in my opinion. But that was the surprise. The surprise that was happening was that Fidelity was in trouble because the stock, the special dividend, the warrant as a special dividend was kicking in. And Fidelity was having a hard time locating shares to match off when people were exercising their warrants. But that pressure got taken off. Wall Street has all the tricks. They bribed the CEO of COSM by telling him, we'll raise you $35 million if you work with us. And they did. He took $35 million out of the market for a crappy company. We have contracts in Europe and contracts in Canada, and we do this healthcare thing, and no one's ever heard of this healthcare thing before. And we can deliver at a discount in Greece. We can fill the stores with better drugs than anywhere else. We have all these contracts. So $35 million went to COSM. But it stopped the squeeze that was going on in GTII. And all squeezes are panics. They're irrational behaviors by investors, but more importantly, by the prime brokers and the compliance officers who are very rational. All of a sudden they get panicked. We're going to lose billions. We got to buy this back. And they have policies in place. You got to buy back the shares. That's what goes on. But as soon as you bust that, the panic disappears. Rationality comes back. Panic and greed. It's both greed on the part of the investors and panic on the part of people losing the money. And that's why the squeeze happens. It's a mania. But if you can slap the participants across their face, they take a deep breath, the mania stops, and if you can get people to move from GTII because you're being paid as an IR guy, because you're being paid as an influencer, and because you're being paid as a CEO, you get everybody to move over to COSM, the squeeze in GTII stops. Hand and fingers, coincidentally. And then you get Roger Rabbit coming on with his bullshit. I'm the fighter. This is my fight against the shorts. The guy with 3 first names. He just funded his company. Another company, completely worthless. A bunch of contracts. But we're the best. What did he offer? Nothing. Just gets up there with his dyed hair and his he thinks, intelligent sounding British accent and sells you nothing. And as the stock goes up, he does a deal with the shorts. He did more than one. I think he did 2. And then a reverse split. You get a guy like Jeremy Frommer who comes in while the whales are working on a couple of stocks. He talks to one of the whales. The Wales puts in money. He's introduced to him. And then he comes out. And I did a video. I thought he was courageous to come out and talk in front of investment bankers about short selling. But Jeremy Frommer, he's best buddies with Jeff Easton. And Jeremy Frommer, not for nothing, did an extensive study, and he can't find that Jeff Easton is shorting stocks. Well, Jeff Easton isn't shorting stocks. It's his clients. But Jeremy Frommer can't believe what's right in front of his eyes. As soon as he signed a deal with them, the stock went down. But he had an opportunity, along with GTII, to surprise the market and potentially make a squeeze. He decided not to. He actively worked on behalf of Jeff Easton and called investors, and we said, sell your stock. We want the hot money out. Now, did he do it because he's an idiot? Probably. He's an intelligent, honest idiot. Or was he paid off? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. But squeezes come like a hurricane, like a earthquake, like a pandemic, like a stampede. It's greed, greed is irrational, and it's fear. Fear is irrational. But greed and fear motivate the animal, who is a human being, to take action in a herd that might benefit them. Anyway, in this particular stock, there's nothing that Ham can tell you, there's nothing that I can tell you that's going to give you an update on when, if or when a squeeze occurs. You know the fundamentals. One group owns the entire float, more than the entire float. There is 100 million apparently shared short. And this group sees an opportunity to profit on the long side. How are they going to do it? It has to be a surprise. It has to come out of left field. It has to cause organically, mechanically, algorithmically, computerly, it has to cause buying on the greed side. That's a surprise. So that on the Wall Street side, the prime broker side, the complicit side, they panic and then they add to the buying. And you saw it happen in AMC. You saw it happen in GME. I don't know how many of you got in early. You saw it start, in my opinion. GTII went from about 9 cents to $9. You saw it in Finger. I know. I traded Finger. Not the whole thing, but I bought Finger at 18 cents and sold it at $16. That's a nice move. I didn't sell any. I owned a lot of stock, and I think I sold 1,000 or 1,500 shares. So it was just part of the trade. Were those the squeezes? Well, it caught Wall Street by surprise. But if Wall Street has enough, you can knock them back on their back foot. If they can recover, they're going to. and then they're going to short them back down. They'll make back all the money they lost by counterfeiting again because Gary Gensler is corrupt. Or he's stupid. You pick it. Gary Gensler is a dummy, ignoramus, or he's corrupt. You pick it. But Wall Street is not a place, in my opinion now, after 2 or 3 years of trying to catch a wave. We've caught plenty of waves. My mistake, I don't know about your mistake, my mistake. There's clients out there, and I can give you the names that listen to him. They sell. They got into Finger. They sold. They got into GTII. They sold. And they move along. And they call him all the time. What's more information? More information. Well, I guess I wasn't jaded enough to do that for myself. But now I am. I think Wall Street, these guys we're up against, all work together. They bring in Roger Rabbit. They bring in Jeremy Frommer. They bring in Gus Fliakos. They bring in Frank Benedetto's. They bring in Lou Bravo's. And others. There's others. It's just these are the names I remember without preparing. There's so many. There's the Aubrey Advisors. There's the Chadron Financial. There's the Ionic Ventures. There's the Neo Exchange. There's Yorkville. There's now Armistead. It's just endless. But there are people that see an opportunity to make money on the other side. And ESK and Eunice, in my opinion, I have no access to information that you don't. But in my opinion, the only thing that makes a squeeze work, and there are some that happen, is surprise. Causing greed on the one side or mechanical buying. I have a friend who I worked with for years. He moved to he became an institutional broker, and he worked to that firm that was at the top of the World Trade Center. It's a bond firm. I'm forgetting the name. And he worked there. They were a really good firm, and they built a sense of family and every damn it, I can't remember the name. It almost came into my head. But then he moved to UBS, and he missed the old firm. But luckily, he did it about 3 weeks before the 9/11 tragedy, maybe a month. I can almost think the name of the firm. So God was protecting him. But he called me up and he said, Billy, how do I compete? I'm 40 years old now, 42 years old. And guys used to call me, give me the orders, and he's part of a team. But they've fired a couple of the guys that are the white males that are older than I am. They brought in a couple of younger people. But I'm the oldest one. I'm probably next, he said. But they bring in these quants, they bring in these brainiacs who design algorithms. And my friend said, Billy, how do I compete with an algorithm? How can I compete with an algorithm? I have an idea, call around, and people buy. But in the meantime, these computers are trading back and forth nipping pennies, half pennies, halfpennies out of the trading all day long. How do I compete with that? What value am I adding? He experienced. The white men are the first to go, and then younger come in, but even the youngers have to go because computers replaced traders on Wall Street. What are computers? They're just stupid machines that process programming, which is called algorithms, written by quants. What are quants? They're just these brainiacs that can write the programming, that can recognize patterns, and hit and run, hit and run, hit and run, hit and run, hit and run. It's high frequency trading. It's protected by everyone you vote for in the Democratic Party, and the Republicans don't do anything about it. But that high frequency trading, 60% of the profit is taxed at long-term gains. And if they set it up properly, the people running these can take their profits as long-term capital gains instead of as income. That's all set up by the banks. And then they set up high-frequency trading, and they got the corrupt Gary Gensler and his predecessors to go along with it. Well, we need Reg Sho exemption because we don't have time in this speed of trading. We don't have time to locate our homework. The dog ate our homework, but we'll bring it in. So they created Reg Sho. Do you know what Reg Sho says? You could, in the United States, you can buy stock, and sell stock short, borrow the stock. Reg Sho gave you a fourth entry. If you're a market maker, you can sell stock you don't own. You can sell stock you don't borrow. You can sell stock you don't locate if you're a market maker. Well, who needs market makers when everything's run by computers? I went to a concert recently, and the girl I was with showed me. I have no idea. They don't give you don't even print out tickets on your own computer. They don't give you ticket stubs. I saw one guy at the concert walking along trying to be a shifter of tickets for a profit. No. Everything's on your Ticketmaster computer. You have to open it up somehow. And then you turn it over and scan it as you walk in. It's all computer. That's what trading is. It's all computer. You don't need market makers. But corrupt Gary Gensler, lying Gary Gensler, doesn't do anything about it. So these guys with no money, they're all men. There's no women. There is that one woman with Scottsdale, the wife of John Hurry. But mostly they're men. They just market makers. They take orders. It's like the Monty Python skit. And I'd like to join the Secret Service. He's applying for a job. I'd like to join the Secret Service. Can you keep a secret? Yes. Well, you're in then. That's what the market makers do now. Do you own the stock? Yes. Okay, what's the order? 100,000 shares to sell, and you can put 6 cents on it or 3 cents on it. Checked off. The lawyers who are corrupt have already made the arrangement with the prime broker that we have this deal with Jeff Easton, so we will be able to cover the stock 6 months from now, and the prime broker looks the other way. Guys like the guy that worked on the American Stock Exchange say, oh, there's systems in place. That's okay. That's a good client. They're all moral and righteous until it's just a slight bending of the rules. They're a good client. Well, in my world, if you are upset with everybody else for being immoral, but you let this immorality go by, you're not very consistent in your thought, which means you're a human being. But anyway, you know what Reg Sho says? I forget actually as I'm talking to you, but I think it gives you 3 days. It might be 2. The market maker exemption gives you, let's call it 3 days, to deliver, to locate, to borrow. Reg Sho itself is being violated. Reg Sho's purpose was for Wall Street to start cleaning this up. There's too much money in it. Too much money in it. But anyway, the update you want really is, when are they going to do it? Are they still going to squeeze? Are they going to buy? Are the institutions and the whales still long the stock? Have they already sold out? Was the $12 price the squeeze? No one's going to answer those questions. No one's going to answer those questions. If you own GDC at $2 and it went to $12 and you didn't sell, or $7 or $5 and you didn't sell, that was the easy trade. Now you're in this Netherland. Did they get out? Did the shorts cover the 100 million shares? Have the whales moved on? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But you got to use those first 2 days, 120 million shares traded. That might be it. If I've made one mistake, I made it 100 times, is over the last 3 or 4 years, and you guys didn't, a lot of you got mad at me about Roaring Kitty. Oh, he's so rich. He's so smart. You've got to listen to him. He took GME to 65. Then he took GME to like 35, 40. Then he took it to 30. And now this last time he took it to 21. It's a bouncing ball. And the energy comes out of it. But when he took it to 65, what was the purpose? It was so the shorts through fronts could sell 1 billion shares and cover their position, control the stock, and make Cohen a big cash hoard. And they've done it again and again and again. And so if I've made any mistake, I just believe my own spit. GTII is going to go up. Finger's going to go up. CRTD has a deal and it's worth $3 and it's locked in and the whales are going to do it and then the thing you can't allow for is human stupidity, greed. Jeremy Frommer says, no, I don't want $3. I want $5. And the whales say, go pound sand. And now his stock is trading after a 1 for 500 split. It's trading for 0.0000 whatever. You can't account for all that. So that my point is, every time these stocks rally, that might be the squeeze. And in the case of the stock you're talking about here, that might have been the squeeze. So you're in the Netherworld. What's Ham's update? What's Ham's update? What's Ham's update? What does he hear? Well, you know what Ham knows? the guys at this super secret black box trading firm that have a desk on Wall Street, and they have a computer, and they have a quant, and they have an algorithm. They've called Ham, and they've told Ham that guess what? It's going to start trading, and we're going to make that stock go up on. We'll gladly pay you on Tuesday for a hamburger today. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get an update like that. All you can do, ESK, is try to buy these companies when nobody wants them. That stock got down to like 60 or 70 or 80 cents. And then if it goes to $8, just like my description of GTII, 80 cents to $8. If you add a zero to that, that starts out, or a decimal place, whatever. You can look at that. It's as if $8 went to $800. It's 10x. Sorry, $8 went to $80. It's 10x. 80 cents goes to $8. 10x. Why didn't you sell? Why didn't I sell in GTII? Because we believe it's going to go further. We believe finally there's going to be a short squeeze. You've got to understand, everything is against you. Gary Gensler's corrupt. Adina Friedman is corrupt. The over-the-counter markets are run by people that are disinterested. Your broker-dealer is corrupt. The whole thing is rigged against you. What is the one thing that can work in your favor? Is surprise. Our main weapon is surprise. Fear and surprise. Our two main weapons are fear, surprise, and an almost fanatical devotion to the Pope. Our three main weapons are. That's what it is. It's fear. It's a surprise. ESK, if that stock has more in it, it's going to be a surprise. And Ham has no idea. None. When that surprise is going to come. Now, I've gone on and on and on, and I guess I should sign off, but I do believe my experience on Wall Street, this has gone on a long time, but my experiences in the past with clients, with myself, with subscribing to newsletters, with internal analysts, is when anybody gets an edge on Wall Street, there's a countervailing effort to imitate that edge or to bust it and win on the other side. And you've seen squeezes. AMC, GME, HKD, I can't remember them all. Dizzy Miss Lizzie, Volkswagen, Halo, I think was one. Anyway, there's like 20 of them, 30 of them. You can Google them. Squeezes happen. The hardest part is, when do you get out? Well, you scale out. And I think, just to finish this long diatribe up, I think what we have to learn now is we have to get out. When they run, get out. Get at least some of our money out. And when a stock like this runs from 80 cents to $12, get some money out. And maybe buy back in. My opinion, for what it's worth, is this is not over with. ESK or Eunice. It's not over with. Yeah, the diamond handing, Vin. Diamond handing is, I don't know. The first sort of $1.2 to $2 million that I ever lost for myself, that I remember anyway. It was a company called Kelly Oil, and I had all my investors in that stock. But I'll tell the story another time. And I might have lost more. I that's the part I don't quite remember. But I was a millionaire and I was a big shot and I was, and I was young. I think I was 26, 20. I don't think I was 25, but I think I was 26 or 27, something like that. Everybody would call me. People from Goldman Sachs would have their clients talk directly to me, and other brokerage firms. I was top of the Ritz. But I was also talking with the CEO. I was talking with all the members of the company. I was talking to research analysts from Goldman Sachs, Prudential Beige, other firms I can't even remember. And uh, anyway, the hello. It was a good call. It was a good call. How's your wedding?
We were at the ICU unit at shock trauma. So I told you the nurse that took care of my son. We always keep in touch with them. We have a Comcast this way, and there were three nurses that remembered my son from when we were here.
They're bless them, bless their hearts.
You know what they said?
What?
No one ever comes back. Very rarely.
Oh, you're the best to do that.
They was so thrilled about it. They go, no one ever comes. And they were like, they remembered that he used to pull his wires out, and things off of them. And they just remember little things. I couldn't believe they remembered. There's 100 ICU patients. This is the only place that has the helicopter anywhere in Maryland. If you get hurt and they have to helicopter you, this is where they all go to, all over Maryland.
Wow, wow.
So they have a helicopter on top of the trauma center. You hear it coming in all the time, like in Vietnam, right? That bad. They know when a helicopter's coming, they got a new patient. That's how it is. Anyway, so I'm going to get the car now.
Well, you did a good job. It was good.
Yeah, I just woke up and I'm like, I didn't know. I told that thing last night I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. Like, where do you get the next president of the United States telling you, talking about security fraud, attacking the SEC, attacking systems? I've never seen that before.
I know. It's pretty amazing.
Right? And people look at it like, tell people, like, people say to me, oh, what makes the timing? I said, if you don't see it, go someplace else. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
This is not the idiot hotline anymore. Get lost.
yeah.
I hated to rush it, but that's what I had to do.
I understand.
I gave up breakfast. You do that.
I haven't had breakfast.
No, I'm just saying, my family went into the place to get croissants and stuff. I said, give me 30 minutes, I said. And that's what they did. So.
Yeah, and she gave you divorce papers.
Take the dog for a walk, go sit in the park.
All right.
And I have to go to a church. I don't even know the kid.
Well, go light a candle.
I'm doing it for my son. He's his friend, and his life has been ruined. But you know what? At least he gets to see some old friends and have a good day.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
So. All right, William. If you hear anything, let me know. I'll be just sitting around.
All right, all right, all right. Bye. Sorry, that was Ham, and I didn't put him on because it'd be another 40 minutes, which I say very respectfully, but I thought he wanted to go on. He didn't. He wanted to talk. He went to visit the ICU, and he's now going to a wedding, and he didn't apparently want to go on, so I let it be. Um, uh, and I forget where I had just left this off. Oh, I was talking about Kelly Oil. Um, so anyway, uh, my boss, which surprised, anyway, I won't tell you the whole story, but we were trained that we couldn't trade against our clients. Of course, we're retail, so we're we're just one step removed from the ass end of the markets, which is the retail client. We're one step better, but not the real money's made by the crooks on Wall Street. Well, I say crooks, but and I say corrupt. But when you don't enforce rules, when you're in as you've been at the head of the SEC for 3 years, you're corrupt. When you don't enforce the locate and borrow and deliver requirements as a Wall Street firm, you're corrupt. You're criminal. It's just simple. Anyway, my mother said to me, as I described it to her, what happened and all this, I didn't tell her the numbers. But what she said to me is, when I talked to her about the CEO and about the guy calling me and the analysts and the clients and all that, she put her very clear-eyed view on it. She said it sounds like misplaced loyalty. In other words, why were you loyal to your clients? Why were you loyal to the CEO? Why were you loyal to the other people at the company? Why were you loyal to the research analysts? Why didn't you just protect yourself? And it always stuck in my head. Misplaced loyalty. And that's what we do. And what you're describing is this idiocy of diamond hands. I think it's misplaced loyalty. It's just, what? Huh? I think we're going to go into a world in the future where buying the indexes and buying the blue chips and holding them forever is going to be very disappointing. Very disappointing. Unless you're in it for the dividends. Unless you're in it for the dividends. I'm going to guess that no one's listening by now. But just in case people come on and want to replay this later on, there's an article in the Epoch Times. I can't get behind the firewall. I used to subscribe, but it talks about how world trade is shifting. And it's interesting to me because I think you have to get ready for our standard of living to change. I don't think we're going to go to the bottom or anything. It's just we're going to have more of an Australian or European standard of living. And I've got to tell you, that's perfectly fine. It's just great. But we're probably not going to be the one nation that Victoria Newlands wants and the rest of the types like her want to bestride the planet as somehow Rome. I don't think that's going to happen. How long is this? It's not that long. I like it. I think it's a good summary. I'll read it and then I'll sign off or maybe think of something else. It is The Coming Shift in World Trade. And I guess it's authored by Jeffrey Tucker in the Epic Times. In July of 1944, a year and some months before the official end of the Second World War, Allied powers gathered at Bretton Woods Hotel in New Hampshire to hammer out a new economic order which would dominate the world once the war ended. The meeting alone expressed great confidence in the coming victory of the Allies, and they weren't wrong. As part of the new plan for the world, a new monetary system would take shape. It would be based in gold, with the dollar convertibility guaranteed at 1/35 an ounce. So $1 for 1/35 an ounce of gold. The right to convert would not be available to the average people. It was something guaranteed by nation states, and central banks alone. Those were who were allowed to participate, central banks and nations. In the early days of the conference, the New York Times editorialized against the scheme. The pen behind the unsigned editorials was the great economist Henry Hazlitt. I've never heard of him. Henry Hazlitt, who would later gain fame for his book Economics in One Lesson. I'll have to look that up. Which became one of the best-selling economic books of the century. It still sells well today. I never bought it. Hazlitt criticized the proposed new monetary system. He said that by making the dollar the world reserve currency and guaranteeing convertibility into gold only by large trading nations, the new system could not last. This is because there was no mechanism to police nations' fiscal and monetary policies. The new system would enable endless expansion of money and credit abroad without consequence. The United States would experience, eventually, a devastating gold outflow. At some point in the future, he predicted, the United States would have to suspend convertibility. Yeah, that's one of the flaws of mercantilism as well. Anyway, so let's see this gentleman's name again. Jeffrey Tucker goes on. This is precisely what happened. Not right away, but eventually. In 1971, Richard Nixon stopped the system whereby the United States shipped out gold. He did so to save the system and to bring about a new one. The exception was that the expectation, that's my eyesight, the expectation was that gold would fall in price. The opposite happened. 8 years later, 8 years after 1971, the gold price had reached $850. And as I always point out, that was Updike's books, Rabbit is Rich, Run, Rabbit, Run. That was the whole description of a middle class oaf making money in gold, at least. The one of those that I read, it was all about that. The people who bet against the monetary elites were the winners. In other words, Richard Nixon said He stopped the convertibility in gold, and he said that nothing would change, and that gold prices would fall. That's what the elites said. Well, the people who bet against the banksters, the elites, won. Gold went from, obviously, from convertibility at 35, 135th, I think, I'm trying to remember, was that $42 an ounce? I can't remember what it was frozen at. It was $35, but then FDR did something. Anyway, whatever the fixed rate was, and I could look it up, but I don't feel like it. Nixon said, nope, he said, we're not doing it. And he predicted gold prices would fall. In fact, over the decade, gold prices reached an all-time high of $850. And I believe if you adjusted for inflation, I'd have to look it up. I'm not sure gold has reached that high again if you adjusted for inflation. I'm not positive on that. So the people who bet against Nixon, bet against the banks, won. So there is a backstory to Hazlitt's writing at the New York Times. His brilliant editorials against the Bretton Woods system appeared weekly and were later collected in a book called From Bretton Woods to World Inflation. Man, I want to read these books. From Bretton Woods to World Inflation. The publisher of the New York Times, at some point in 1944, just before the system was ratified, came to Hazlitt and said that the paper would change its editorial stance. It would need to favor and not oppose the Bretton Woods system. At that point, Hazlitt realized that his 10-year tenure at the paper had come to an end. He packed up, went home, and started working on a new book which became Economics in One Lesson. He wrote it in less than 2 weeks. This author, let me get his name again, Jeffrey Tucker, says, Jeffrey Tucker, have been visiting Hazlitt's writing from this period as a way to understand the present moment. It is clear that the elites in those days were setting up a new global machinery. In designing such a system, John Maynard Keynes, who I did study, from the UK, was the primary influence. There were several moving parts. There was the monetary system as described above. There was to be a transaction clearing system administered by the World Bank, the remnants of which survive in special drawing rights today, SDRs today. There was a financing system in the form of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. And there was a new trade system called the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT, which later now has become the WTO, the World Trade Organization. These four moving parts, money, this is why I wanted to read you this article. These four moving parts, money, clearing, lending, and trading, were designed to work together as if this entire world economy was a machine to be managed, which is precisely how Keynes thought of it. What occurs to me is these banksters have taken this monetary concept and applied it to securities, and they're trying to manage it as one big global travesty. But anyway, let's move on. Hazlitt's objection to this monetary system was that the system was too clever by half because it could not account for market and political exigencies. Exigencies. Surprises. EXIGENCIES. I'm having a hard time pronouncing it. It's one thing for something to work on paper. It's something else for it to work in reality. So it drives me crazy. It's a word I can pronounce usually. And it's not giving me the oh, here it is, pronunciation.
Exigencies.
Exigencies.
Exigencies. Exigencies. Exigencies.
All right. So the system could not account for market and political exigencies. So these are, urgent surprises, they're crises. It's one thing for something to work on paper. It's something else for it to work in reality. He saw the problem that the new system did nothing to discipline governments that were party to the deal. He predicted that all governments would take advantage of the opportunity to exchange in reckless fiscal and monetary policies while free riding against the rich nations who were guaranteeing the system against failure. He was right about this eventuality, but in the meantime, the world economy did take a new direction toward what was later called neoliberalism, a managed system which exalted freedom in international trade and fiscal and monetary liquidity above all else. So it was a managed system which glorified freedom in trade and monetary liquidity above all else. Fiat currency. Why was the system set up this way? The reason is that an entire generation of what were known as enlightened diplomats had become convinced that depression and war, the 1930s and the 40s, stemmed from trade protectionism and from too many monetary guardrails which prevented states from flooding the system in times of crises. Exigenous.
Exigencies.
Exigencies. Once you can't pronounce it, it's hard to. Exigencies. So anyway, in other words, the system of 1944 was established mainly to backwards fix what its architects saw as the main problems of the previous 2 decades. That's a human nature. We look forward with what we experienced for the last 2 years. That's human nature. And he says it here. So in other words, the system of 1944 was established mainly to backwards fix what its architects saw as the main problems of the previous 2 decades. This is human nature, he says. If you lived through a house fire caused by an electric spark, you were going to be extra careful about the soundness of wiring in the future. if your health has failed you for reasons of a bad diet, you are going to be more careful in the future to eat right, and so on. They were more focused on fixing old problems. This is like the Democratic Party. They're trying to fix the racism that Hillary Clinton backed in the 50s. She supported Barry Goldwater. She was a Goldwater girl. But they're trying to fix the horrible racism of the 50s and the 60s. There still is racism, but it's not that way anymore. She paints the whole of the middle of the country as deplorable because she sees everyone as Bull Connor. That's not true. It's just not true. But it's the same thing the SEC does now. They train their lawyers to go after CEOs because the problem in the 70s was rogue CEOs. In the 70s. That's not the problem anymore. The problem now is rogue funds on Wall Street backed by the corrupt chairman of this SEC. It's a completely different problem. The pendulum has swung that way. It's going to swing the other way. It's going to swing the other way. And I think rapidly. Unfortunately, it comes, the integrity comes back to our markets after the markets move to Shanghai. Unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. So they were more focused on fixing old problems than anticipating new ones. Thus, Jeffrey Archer continues to write, thus did the world of the 1950s and the 1960s proceed with these fixes in place. The results were spectacular by any historical standard, especially for the United States, the 1950s and 60s. Economists leave out oil. A lot of the miracle of the United States was oil, but we can leave it out for this article. But remember Hazlitt's prediction that the new system would not provide discipline to states in the matter of fiscal and monetary policy. As it turns out, the leading offender in this regard was the United States, which embarked on the Vietnam War. At the same time, it blew out its provisions in the welfare state. Guns and butter. That led to unsustainable economic tensions. Meanwhile, the trading system that depended entirely on a gold-based settlement system started to flow only one way, which was out. That system broke down as the welfare/warfare state blew up, and finally Nixon put an end to it. In making that decision, Nixon also made a choice to preserve the low-tariff global trading order over the monetary shackles that had hemmed in some element of monetary discipline. With all limits now removed, inflation took its toll, exactly as Hazlitt predicted. The United States experienced 3 successive waves in the 1970s, each worse than the last. And remember who started it? Not Jimmy Carter, Richard Nixon. That excess, well, Johnson too, I suppose. That excess was finally stopped with the reign of Paul Volcker at the Fed and the presidency of Ronald Reagan. Can I take this time to point out that Jimmy Carter appointed Paul Volcker 2 years before Ronald Reagan? And the first 2 years of Ronald Reagan's term were a disaster economically. So, pardon me if I don't say hosannas to Ronald Reagan. Jimmy Carter appointed Chairman Volcker. Jimmy Carter. And as he approaches his 100th year, I don't mind telling you, I give credit to Jimmy Carter for Paul Volcker, not Ronald Reagan. Anyway, let me read the sentence again. The United States experienced 3 successive waves of inflation in the 1970s, each worse than the last. That excess of inflation was finally stopped with the reign of Paul Volcker at the Fed and the presidency of Ronald Reagan, who had promised to control the fiscal side, which he didn't. He didn't. And yet, there was a Cold War to win, and the Reagan administration, too, had to make a choice between a balanced budget and its foreign policy priorities. Without marching through the policy errors of the following 3 decades and blithely putting the not wanting to wipe away the glory given to Ronald Reagan, he made errors too. So without marching through the policy errors of the following 30 years, let us jump ahead to 2016. So he's going to jump on Trump. 2016, during a time when, as could have been predicted, the United States has lost vast amounts of its that 30 years. The United States has lost vast amounts of its manufacturing sector to foreign competition, attributable to the very system set up in the Nixon era, not to mention the victory in the Cold War, which opened up a new swath of the world to productive competition vis-a-vis the United States. The new president in 2016, Donald Trump, swore to end the problem. How? By blowing up GATT, which had been newly labeled the World Trade Organization. In other words, Trump took a different tact from Nixon. He sought to patch a trade problem with a very old-fashioned system which had been wholly rejected back in 1944. Again, Hazlitt predicted something exactly like this in his writings, as he explained that nations with undisciplined fiscal and monetary problems operating in a world without domestic convertibility are bound to suffer monetary outflows and a depreciation. A depreciation of their production base attributable to foreign competition. As a result of Trump's efforts, which were not reversed by the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration. You're running against me, not Joe Biden. Huff, huff. Well, guess what, Kamala Harris? You've been in office 3.5 years too. He's running against you too. So as a result of Trump's efforts, which were not reversed by the Biden administration, the system of 1944 now lies in ruins, with governments around the world newly experimenting with regional trading systems, tariff policies, and even new systems of settlement that could someday unseat the dollar as the world reserve currency. In the meantime, the United States has a major problem. Without dramatic domestic reform, the United States simply cannot compete on the world stage. This is because the United States debt avalanche has assisted in boosting the industrial buildup around the world, even as the high-value international dollar makes imports cheap and exports expensive with no settlement system in place. This not only leads to perpetual trade deficits in the United States, but massively subsidizes imports over domestic goods and over exports. In the last 4 years of inflation, the last 4 years, Kamala Harris, you're running against me, not Joe Biden. Well, guess what? That doesn't mean, Kamala Harris, that the last 4 years are not your fault. In the last 4 years of inflation, the US dollar has maintained its strength internationally while decaying domestically. As a result, imports have not suffered nearly as much in inflation as domestic goods like chicken and eggs, food, which only entrenches the problem. What we are watching now is the final unraveling of the system of 1944 in all of its parts, including the tweak of 1971, which introduces grave dangers to the world of both depression and war. The way out of this predicament is not another cockamamie world order constructed by another globalist economic guru like Keynes, or like this woman, I forget her name, who supports modern monetary theory, or by anybody promoting modern monetary theory, male or female. So Jeffrey Archer says, we need a simple return to fiscal and monetary soundness. Above all else, the United States must get her own house in order with balanced budgets. I'm not sure that's going to happen. And sound money, even if that means letting go. This is what is going to happen. Letting go of its imperial ambitions abroad. That is the best opportunity and probably the only path to restarting the beautiful ambition of a free trade world. Anyway, that's the end. But what it means, bottom line, we're going to go back to gold. And I know I keep hammering it, but gold, I don't agree with this gentleman here who is saying Bitcoin and blockchain. Yes, that's one aspect. But the biggest marketplace in the world is the US debt market, and it dwarfs anything on blockchain. The financial system out there dwarfs blockchain, and there's entrenched resistance to giving up. You know, you think the United States has what's called the by the French president, the I can't remember it, the unjustified privilege of exchange. I forget his exact term. Well, Wall Street now has this built-in advantage to cheat and create just a monsoon of money flowing to the people at the top. They're not going to voluntarily move to blockchain. But I do think we're going to move to gold and precious metals. And that's what I wanted to bring out. I know it's been going on a while. I'm going to sign off. And I hope I'm going to have some lunch. I hope everybody gets outside and enjoys an absolutely beautiful day. I hope the football team you're watching wins. I hope there's love in your life and friendship. And I will talk to you on Monday. Cheers.